This is a special New York Real Estate Expo edition of Million Dollar Thinking. I am one of your hosts, Derek Hall, president of Charter Real Estate School. Along with me, I have Taiwan Anthony and Brian Anthony Phillips. Normally, I like to point, but usually the people's faces aren't where I think they are, so I won't do that. I'll do a quick introduction of my co-hosts, and then Brian's going to introduce our special panelists. Today, we're going to be talking about the neighborhood of LIC, that's Long Island City, for the uninitiated here in Queens. And first, we'll introduce Taiwan Anthony, who is a property and asset manager that's managed over 6 million square feet of commercial, office, and residential properties throughout his career. He's a regional manager at RPAI, which is Retail Properties of America, where he oversees the day-to-day of 9 large-scale lifestyle shopping centers. Ty is also a traveling real estate instructor, teaching for Charter Real Estate School, as well as colleges and independent schools on the city. In addition, he holds several industry licenses and certifications, such as a CPM candidate designation and the ARM from the Institute of Real Estate Management. He completed the Real Estate Associate Program from REAP, a licensed real estate broker, and was recognized as the top 100 in 2019. I got that in 2018, so good on you, guy. Locally, he's been a long-serving member of his community board and is the founder and current president of the New York Crusaders, an economic empowerment and football nonprofit. Say hi to Taiwan, everybody.
Thank you, Derek. Man, you sure know how to read a bio. I'm gonna have to use you all the time.
Right, yeah, no, it's, I got some acting skills in the background.
Let's do that again.
Yeah, right. My other co-host is the man, the myth, the legend, Brian Phillips, best monitor, the mobile broker. Now, he's been an associate broker with Douglas Elliman for the last 14 years and has been selling and leasing for 24 years. He's duly licensed in the Harlem and Bronx Riverdale offices for the Rebney RLS and One Key MLS, which enables him to effectively serve several counties, including Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Westchester, all of which Brian has a selling track record. Very active in the industry, Brian is a board of director at the Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors and serves on several committees in the Real Estate Board of New York. That's Rebney, y'all. Give a hand for Brian. Yes, ladies.
Thank you. I'll take it from here, Derek, and introduce our panelists.
Yep.
First off is Mary Beth Mcgill. Mary Beth has been with Modern Spaces for 11 years and is one of the top producing agents. She's a member of Modern Spaces multi-million-dollar and founding members clubs. Currently sales director at the new development, the Craftsman Townhomes. She also specializes in resales and has many investor clients and handles their rentals. She has experience in commercial real estate and selling air rights. Mary Beth proudly calls Long Island City her home, owning a condo that she resides in and also owns an investment property. Next up, we have Juan Rosa, also known as Rick.
How are you?
Okay, hi, Rick. A 21-year-long Long Island City native, originally from Miami and a top producing Douglas Elliman broker. The name Rick Rosa has become synonymous with the area. Rick has great admiration for local businesses, the community, new development, and the culture that the city has to offer. He started his real estate career with Douglas Elliman in 2004 and has consistently been a top broker year after year. In 2012, Rick opened the Long Island City office for Douglas Elliman as managing director. He held that position for 2 years, over 2 years, under the guidance of Douglas Elliman's chairman, Howard Lauber. Rick then went on to focus his energy on new development under the umbrella of Douglas Elliman Development Marketing. Rick worked closely with Karen Mansour on all Long Island City developments. Rick then partnered with Alexander Pereira in 2016, forming the Rosa Pereira team. And they have consistently been the top 2% nationwide, as well as #1 team at Long Island City for Douglas Elliman. They were recently awarded highest award of the company, the Pinnacle Award. In addition, they were ranked #4 in transactions for all of Douglas Elliman, New York, which includes Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens. They're currently finishing off sales at the Greystone condo in Long Island City with 80% of the building in contract. Welcome, Rick.
Hey, everybody.
Rick.
Okay.
Next up, we have Patrick Smith. Patrick founded in 2018 and led by the Patrick W. the Smith team, LLC, is comprised of 4 mutually reinforcing businesses that are dedicated to the Long Island City housing market. The core businesses include real estate brokerage and new development, sales, and marketing. Through Patrick's affiliation with the Corcoran Group, an independent residential consulting and research services. In 2019, Patrick became the only agent from Long Island City to win first place at the Revenue's citywide Deal of the Year competition. Patrick represented the buyer in a complex sale in Manhattan. Patrick has been recognized as the Corcoran Group's 2019 Long Island City Salesperson of the Year, and he was previously named a top Manhattan agent based on dollar volume by The Real Deal. Patrick's work and market studies are cited in major publications, including the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, CNBC, The Real Deal, and the Long Island City Post. Patrick serves on the Residential Queens Brokerage Committee at the Real Estate Board of New York, and he's on the board of Hunters Point Parks Conservancy. Patrick received a Master's of Science in Real Estate Development from New York University, a Bachelor of Arts in Urban Studies from Queens College, and a lead AP, BD, and C from the United States Green Council Building Council. Welcome, Patrick. Last but not least, Patrick Bethany. Patrick is a Senior Vice President at Nest Seekers and the Managing Director of New Development for the international firm, overseeing luxury new developments throughout Manhattan, Brooklyn, Long Island City, Jersey City, the Hamptons, Miami, Brooklyn, Miami, Los Angeles, London, Portugal. Should I go on? Tel Aviv and His nearly decade-long experience in real estate is invaluable and includes the launch of sales and marketing programs of nearly $2 billion worth of projects, including but not limited to Skyline Tower, The Neighborly, Society House, Manhattan View at MEMA, Austin Nichols House at 184 Kent Avenue, 567 Ocean Avenue, The Hero, and many more in the pipeline. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Derek, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, sir. So as you can see, when we get a spotlight, we bring the heavyweights. So I really want to thank you guys for joining us. Michael, Patrick, Mary Beth, and well, we lost Rick, but he'll be back. We want to appreciate you guys for taking the time to sit here with us and talk about Long Island City, the neighborhood you guys hopefully love best. We put this panel together because we wanted to talk about, what makes LIC special in the sense that, the pandemic was obviously a tremendous, difficult time for everyone that was involved. Some neighborhoods fared better than others throughout the course of the pandemic when it comes to real estate, and LIC seemed to really shine. So we wanted to talk about that and figure out maybe what it is about LIC that really keeps the people coming. And we feel like we've got the right people on this panel to talk about that. So I think it would just makes the most sense to kind of let you guys talk a little bit about the neighborhood itself first. And so I'd like to ask each of you, why do residents choose Long Island City? I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize that Long Island City is what I say a young neighborhood, one of the youngest in the city, both in terms of the age of the residents, as well as the fact that it's a very new neighborhood to New York City. So what is it that attracts people to Long Island City? Because I know that it does compete with Manhattan, for example, as well as Brooklyn and other parts of Queens.
I had just moved back from San Francisco, and I had left New York a long time ago, so this was a perfect match for me. The community, it was very neighborhoody. People talk to each other here, and we're by the water. You can walk everywhere. It's like it's a perfect fit. For a lot of people, Manhattan can be a little crazy, a little overwhelming, the tall buildings. One of the things I think Long Island City is known for is the light. You have a lot of light, and I think that's very healthy. So, there's parks here. It's just an easy lifestyle here. So, and it's very convenient for people that are going to airports. And the LIE is right here. Like I go to Suffolk County, so I feel very blessed I ended up here. So
nice, thank you.
Michael, you wanna jump in there?
Patrick, I yield the floor, sir.
Well, I would just piggyback on what Mary Beth said. You have 20 acres of waterfront parkland. There are 6 subway stops to take you to your office in Manhattan in one stop. Which for the past year with work from home, people have, not put as much emphasis on that. But as the city continues to reopen, I think our very close proximity to Manhattan will, be even more important to people. And from the buyers and the developers that I've spoken with in the area, they feel like it has more room to grow. As much development as we have already had, when you walk around, there just seems to be a lot of open space and opportunity. So I think people think Long Island City has a great future.
Sorry, just to dovetail quickly off of my two colleagues here, I think that there is a real vibrancy to Long Island City and a real energy that has persisted and been building for close to a decade at this point, but really has expedited and taken off over the last 5 years. I think all of us live in the neighborhood. So we live and work in Long Island City. We breathe Long Island City. We love the neighborhood and its people. And I think it has to do with the proximity, the diversity, the food, the entertainment, the proximity to the city and the myriad of train lines, and then your ability to commute really anywhere. That is very unique to the neighborhood, and it spawned this incredible growth that we've seen over the last years. And to Patrick's point, it's still on the upswing, and I think there's a lot more room to grow. So it's the perfect, it's really an inflection point of it still has value, but it is an ideal place to live. So it's that perfect balance.
Describe a typical Long Island City resident and what they're looking for in a home.
Maybe Rick can take that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Rick, why don't you try that?
First off, sorry about that, guys. My computer is shut down. I'll go ahead and restart, so I do apologize. The LIC resident has evolved over the years. Like when I first came to Long Island City in 1999, the resident was a bit different. There was not much development over here at all, next to nothing. And then once the rezoning happened in 2003, we saw like the first wave of like the LIC resident, which was more of like, people exploring, like moving into like the Avalon and just like the first of the TF buildings, et cetera. Definitely Manhattan. And then, but then what happened is that after like the boom and they really tried to came off, everything evolved. And now it touched on, many different areas. Flushing became a major part of LIC. It was like that got rediscovered. And when that happened, it really gave LIC a whole new wave of a different kind of diversity. And it was great. It really opened it up a bit.
A quick question, and I just wanted to ask this really quickly. So I'm a Brooklyn guy. So I just wanted to know if someone's looking, right, what would be the difference between them moving to LIC as opposed to moving in traditional neighborhood in Brooklyn?
Brooklynites coming to LIC, definitely seeing more now than ever before, but like before 08, never. Like the conversion was very, very, very little, never, right? But now LIC got a bit cool, Greenpoint got hip, so that all evolved. So now I'm seeing a lot more from Brooklyn to LIC. But if you work in Midtown, obviously, but like if you work in downtown Soho, Tribeca area to say, you're not getting as many of those. But what I am seeing a lot, Upper West Side, because before it started with like, Murray Hill up to like the low 70s, from Lex to like York, let's just say, in that whole like quadrant. And then it became
super specific. That's very interesting.
Yeah, but then it became like Hudson Yards, and that opened up the West Side, right? So then we started getting like Hell's Kitchen, right? And then like after that, it went up to Upper West Side. So we're seeing a lot more of that. At least I am, at the very least, which is kind of cool, but not very much from downtown. But if you're downtown, then what do you want to do? Williamsburg, et cetera, like Brooklyn Heights and all that. Yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you.
So what they think the typical resident looks like?
Yeah, no, I agree with Rick. I would just add that what's very nice about condo development here is that we have a large captive audience of renters who currently live in Queens and live in Long Island City. They know and love the neighborhood. So, I don't know the exact numbers, but I would say there's probably 90% of our residential inventory is rental. 10% is condo, give or take. So you have, literally thousands of residents who know and love the area, and they stay here for a few years and then decide to put down roots. And so that's also been a big, a big source of demand for the condo market here.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the majority of the buyers are the renters here. People, I mean, I have clients that I've known forever that we met, they had a studio and now they have 3 beds. No, you know, people don't leave. So
What type of amenity?
That's an important one too, I think, because like for me, I live in Astoria, right? Astoria is kind of very much like an introductory neighborhood, right? A lot of college kids come in, they move to Astoria when they get that job in Manhattan, and they graduate to Manhattan, you know, but it's good to hear that people are like setting up shop and staying in LIC.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What type of amenities are they looking for? Your customers looking for, or customers looking for in a home? What type of amenities?
Outdoor space.
Yeah, outdoor space for sure. I mean, now amenities are a bit funky because of COVID, of course. So like you can't really use as many amenities, which also helps in smaller buildings. Because like everyone came to the big buildings to be there to have all the, you know, the virtual everything and golf simulator, etc. Now they're not really used as much, and they're leaving those buildings.
I was just going to say we should probably turn it over to Michael because I think he's co-managing sales or I'm not sure at Skyline Tower, which has a lot of amenities. So I'd be curious to hear, you know, what feedback he's been getting, you know, to a building with a lot of amenities and you know, in this environment, what his experience has been.
I mean, besides that beautiful view that Michael has back there.
Are you
It
at
gets
Skyline?
better the higher you go.
Oh,
Let
wow.
me tell you.
Wow.
So I think what we've seen, and all the panelists alluded to it very aptly, is that COVID threw a wrench into everything that we have known for years and decades regarding what buyers are really looking for in their amenity package. You know, there was a real tangible shift from interior amenities and a focus on gyms and spas and pools and any kind of meditation, yoga, co-working space. All of that amenity space is still important, but there has been a heavy re-emphasis and refocus towards outdoor and exterior space because everybody is craving fresh air. Everyone is craving to get outside of their apartment that they're stuck in on Zoom all day, every day, rinse, repeat, you know? And so, and then there's been an adaptation of the interior square footage amenities. Instead of open co-working spaces where you have long tables where everyone is working together, there's been this shift towards demarcated separate spaces with privacy dividers, with separations put in. And so that has been some of the shift. I would say that there is certainly also a little bit more of a desire to be, look, Skyline Tower is selling very, very well. You know, to Patrick's point, it's selling nearly a contract a day at this point. But I think there has also been a real shift in the marketplace towards a desire for more boutique buildings, having a little bit more space within the building itself as well. You know, we launched Prime LIC down the street on Jackson Avenue 2 months ago. We have 8 units left. You know, we relaunched 5 Court Square with 25 units the first weekend in February. We have 5 units left. Everyone that has come into these buildings has had a strong desire to have less residents on their floor, to feel like they had a little bit more privacy. They weren't going to be on elevator banks that were being shared with large groups. So it just depends, right, in terms of the amenities. But there definitely has been a shakeup. But we're clearly getting towards the end of the tunnel with the vaccinations and the city reopening and the spring air, you know, around us. So it always recalibrates, right? Everything is cyclical.
Right, that's awesome. Yeah, so that actually touches on the next question I was going to ask was, you know, how are things looking now? You know, like obviously numbers for I think everyone went down to a degree during COVID, but are you seeing a very quick turnaround now? You know, Michael just alluded to like things seem to be selling like hotcakes. Is everyone else seeing the same thing where people are looking for a diversity of things? I remember when LIC started, it was very less of a neighborhood, right? It was just these tall buildings and nobody knew each other. And now it's developed into a community with waterfront property and great parks and things like that. Are you hearing or about like new things that are coming from the new developments, for example? Are the developers looking to make changes in what's going to be coming onto the market as well?
Mary, Beth, and Rick work extensively on new development, so I'd be curious to hear their thoughts. I'm working on a 70-unit project on Jackson Avenue right now that's in the pipeline. And, you know, where there's opportunities to make changes, the developer is making changes, but the developer is also looking out 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, and not really, I guess, overreacting to that, to make kind of radical changes with it. But where we can, if there's HVAC improvements we could do, or maybe carving out a home office space where maybe before we had a larger kitchen, we could, reduce the footprint of the kitchen to put maybe a home office. Subtle changes like that is what I'm seeing. And just to touch on your question about market activity, we actually just rolled up all of the Q1 2021 contracts, and there was an average of 15 reported signed contracts in LIC in the condo market during Q1. During the 101-day period that Amazon was in effect, there was 10 reported signed contracts. So we're doing it now without all of the crazy publicity from Amazon. But the market in the first quarter was actually busier. And I'd be curious to hear about Greystone and Craftsman and Skyline and all the rest of the buildings that my colleagues are working on, because the market seems very, very busy right now.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like in I say the second week of January is when things really begin to turn up. I mean, we sold 3 of our 4 penthouses in the last 2 months, which I was shocked that it happened so quickly. But the first one, okay, and the second, and then the third. So it just goes to show that, like, there's activity here and people are looking for bigger spaces. I mean, all 3 of them are north of 2 million. For LIC, north of 2 million it's a high number. It's not like in Manhattan it's normal, but here that's definitely a bigger ticket. And those buyers for LIC is they're more seasoned. They're not the first time buyers that we get, which is a big part of my market is first time buyers. I say like maybe like 2/3 of it, to tell you the truth, So and it's exciting to see that. It felt good for a moment to have some wind at my back versus like, the other way around, which has it been. And buyers realize that the opportunity right now is getting smaller. So this is the time to act if you want to get in on this. And at the end of the day, this neighborhood has everything. We have park space, we have open, we have light, we have air. That's all they care about is light and air and park, right? That's what we have, and access, of course. So I think now it's really on the radar, because like if you're comparing this to like, I don't know, let's say like Woodside, let's just say, right? Not even, say Greenpoint. Greenpoint is more expensive than LIC, but LIC has way more park space. That's a lot nicer. You know what I'm saying? So it's like people are now catching on to that, and it's happening. And this quarter certainly told me that for sure. I mean, I'm not popping bottles as yet, but I'm happy. I'll say that. I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy to say we have 1 unit left at the Craftsman. So and things were moving. I think the most interesting change in the market to me has, as Rick mentioned, the shift. Like 1 beds at one point were not moving as fast as the 2 and the 3s. Like it used to be the couples would buy the 1 bed, and then when their situation changed, then they would buy the 2 bed. But now, because they're working at home and they're planning their lives, they're already buying the 2 beds. And then the people that have a child are buying the 3 bed. So that has shifted as far as the buying trends. That's been interesting to see. So
I think what's going to happen is that, like, if you look at all the new development in Long Island City that was built, before 2008, they're all large apartments. 2 bedrooms are 1,200 square feet. Your 1 bedrooms are not 650 and less. They're like, maybe they're in the mid 7s on or about. And they're big homes. Then look what happened after 2008. The big push was what? Affordability, and banging out like extra rooms to go ahead and make more money at a high PSF. So. And that model worked for a long time, certainly, and and it continued to work. But now we're in a different time where people care about being home, and maybe they can't afford to spend an extra $100K, but they'll try to, because they know that they're not going out as much, and the world changed, et cetera, and they choose home and they're working from home. So that's going to be the new shift. It's going to take, like I said, about a couple of years for you to see that inventory grow. And I truly feel that that's why I sold these 3 penthouses, because we happen to have that, and trust me, the developer did not have a crystal ball, but that's just his style. And to this point, it helped us, and I think we're going to see more of that for sure coming. And then right now, I can't move. I say I can't move, but like, the 1 bedrooms that I have, and they're big 1 bedrooms. Like, I mean, one is 770 square feet, one is 800 square feet almost, right? And I can't move it, So it's kind of frustrating, to tell you the truth, that like, it just tells me that, they want big apartments now. And if I could combine what I have and make it into a big home, I certainly would now. Whereas if you asked me a year ago, I say, no way, So that's what I see. I swear to you, like we're going to see a uptick in bigger homes. And then the PSF is already adjusted as well. I mean, it was a little too crazy anyway at the end of the day, you know? So now I feel it's been adjusted. And then with the new inventory that's going to roll out and with the thought process, like what Pat said about putting, you know, the home office and the kitchen, you know, like make a smaller kitchen to add a home office, all these things are going to come into play. And it's really going to like, you know, this is a time where creativity comes in with the architects and the builders to really, you know, build for what the people want. And they want space. That's for sure.
Oh, sure. I mean, you walk into some of these apartments, especially the one beds, and there's
God.
squeezed
Yeah,
in there, and the desk squeezed in there. I was like, wow.
And they give them a smart vanity and have them not even think about the space because they're focusing on all the details. You know what I mean? It works. It works, and it still works. Don't get me wrong, but you know, the world changed. Now we got to go ahead and go with that.
I think it's interesting. We're in a, you know, I think we're in a real period of transition. And to Rick's point, which I think is very apt, is I think the PSF has corrected, right? I think COVID did a lot of, you know, aside from all the terrible health factors that are awful, in terms of just a real estate perspective, it had somewhat of a correction on the LIC market in particular. LIC had been so hot for so long and was outperforming not only Manhattan, but also Brooklyn. And I think it was overheating to a point where now it's corrected slightly. It's now where I think it should be in relation to, which then allows more growth over the years to come. And by that, I think looking at the size of units, I do think there is a trend right now towards larger units, but it's interesting. I think there's a lot of uncertainty about where it will be in the next 12 to 18 to 36 months. We have some developers that are betting heavy on this continued trend of larger home sizes and seeing 1-bedrooms in the 700s and 2-bedrooms in the 11 to 1200 range. We also have other developers that are pushing all in on more micro units. And that's not only in Manhattan, that's here in LIC. We're working with a couple of different developers on 2 or 3 projects right now where we're looking at floor plans, and we're looking at 1-bedrooms that are sub 500, studios that are sub 400. And that is the entire building, 70 units right off of Jackson Ave, where they're considering looking at micro package, and that being really the value proposition, but not looking to drive the price per square foot somewhere crazy. They're still thinking somewhere in the $1,300-$1,400 range, and that will be a sweet spot for transaction volume and success. So I don't know. I mean, I think it will be really interesting. We're going to learn a lot over the next 12 months. And I think that trend coming out of COVID will ultimately be sort of what governs for a few years here. Patrick.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And it's very interesting about the developer you're working with who's doing micro condo units. I mean, so you learn something new every day. At the Bond, where we're responsible for marketing 4 sponsor units, including a 3-bedroom unit. So we had a 3-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, and 2 1-bedrooms. So the project team thought that and I thought that the least expensive units would go first. But of course, as Mary, Beth, and Rick are saying, the most expensive unit went to contract first when we relaunched them. So that's very consistent with everyone's experience in the last quarter. And now we have a 2-bedroom with a lovely terrace, and it spans the entire apartment. You have access to it from the living room and from the main bedroom. And we have appointments on it every day. And the sponsor's thinking about increasing the price on that unit. So there has been this interesting shift, but I will say last year in 2020, and I think this was probably with Michael's developers, why they're concerned about following the thesis of larger units going forward. When COVID happened, the family market and the market for large apartments really disappeared. And you see that in the number of closings last year for $2 million plus units in LIC really went down. So we are having a moment, and it's very nice to see, because that means the neighborhood's getting repopulated, families are coming back. It's great. I hope it continues. But from a development perspective, sometimes developers will say, hey, there's a little bit of risk here to carry so many 2-bedrooms. Maybe we'll make, 3, 4, 5% of the mix 3-bedroom units and up. But when you get beyond that, I think, the developer starts to have less risk tolerance for that.
Nice. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. That's a great segue, I think, for Brian's next question.
Right. What do you? How do you keep up with the market? What are you guys reading? Is it Property Shark or The Real Deal? NIMBY?
The Long Island City
Everything.
Post.
All of you?
LIC Post. Yeah, that's a good one.
Me too.
Real Deal, obviously. I mean, but if you're part of the neighborhood, you kind of know all the news anyway. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the thing about LIC. You got to be that neighborhood dude to kind of walk around, know all the owners. You know what I mean? Just like, and that's how you see things. You know. So I mean, at least for me, it is. That's a big part of my.
I think that's the charm of it also.
Yeah. Well, it could be fun. Like, there could be days where you don't want to see anybody. You want to go like, "Hey, Rick, hi."
And you know what? So that leads me to a quick question. And just to piggyback off of what some of you guys have spoken about anyway, how's COVID shifted what the residents are looking for, right? So I know that LIC is known for beautiful waterfront restaurants. I've been there plenty of times. So now that the restaurants may or may not be there, they're switching to carry out and they have these COVID protocols. Has that affected what the resident is looking for? Because notably, you can walk downstairs, go to a nice restaurant. Now that that's changed, how's the dynamics there?
The restaurants are still here. I mean, we lost a few. I mean, it's such a great community here. There was one that a GoFund was set up for, and the whole community jumped in. It's still here.
Yeah, and it's interesting that during the pandemic, Kelly Craig and Patrick Thompson, to a local resident, started LIC Relief. And I know that everyone on this call here, all of our organizations supported them. Ayumi Otaki, who's not on the call with us today, is the senior managing director and founder of the Long Island City office, along with Pamela Beedman of Corcoran. I went to them and kind of told them what was happening and what we needed and what LIC Relief needed. And they were so generous with their support. So in the restaurants and with LIC Relief, we're preparing foods and takeout, and LIC Relief truly mobilized and the restaurant stepped up. So it was, you know, they had a very important role during the pandemic.
What are some of the most popular restaurants there?
The cool restaurants?
Yeah, the hot spot.
I mean, nothing's really hot now, you know, but I mean, you know, it's not a neighborhood where people go ahead and hang out. It's more of like, you know, it's like right now it's more about the waterfront. That's going to be the hot spot, to tell you the truth, because that's where everything happens. But like, you know, the restaurants are beginning to pick up. Like Casa Enrique obviously is like, you know, my favorite, number one. I mean, that's just me. You know, but you're seeing them pick up a bit. But the Patrick point I do want to say is that like the neighborhood came together, and like, you know, and it was cool to see that, not only as a broker but as a local here, as a homeowner here. You know what I mean? Like, and I support the neighborhood every day for lunch. I go to different places and I give back, and I attribute my success to always giving back. And like this community does that. And at times it could be a bit too much. Like before COVID, if there was a break, if there was like a smashed car window, people would freak out. And this is New York, right? But like, it's cool. They're very involved. And I really saw that during the COVID, and it was nice to see. I was happy to see that, actually.
Is there a ferry service? Is there a ferry service in Long Island City?
Yeah, there's a ferry there, you know. So I really take it though, but is there?
It's a water taxi, or it's a water taxi, right?
Water taxi. I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
Love the ferry. On a
Water
hot
taxi,
day, just
ferry.
take a little ferry ride.
Yeah, I know.
Market. Anybody doing rentals?
Yeah, I'm doing rentals. I have 4427 11th Street, Eric Eckstein's building. It's 105 units, and we're doing quite good there, to tell you the truth. I mean, like when I've handled his condos, but now he needed help on this one. So, and in the beginning it was tough, like October, November, December, it was like, selling a condo was easier than renting a home then. But then January happened, and then the uptick. I mean, we're giving a lot of concessions, like 3-4 months, but now we're scaling back. I mean, I was shocked to see that we're giving 4 months free rent and broker fee. It's like insane. But now we went back to 2 months, and we leased up 20 some odd units already. But people were leaving, and we were getting people coming from the bigger buildings. I mean, this is a smaller building in the world of rental buildings. You know, it's 2 buildings that are divvied up, 105 units, so it's not that big, you know. But a lot of people that were coming there were from the Rock Roses and TF Cornerstones, you know. But people were moving around because they're getting better deals. If you're paying X over here, you know, and John Doe is offering XYZ, gonna go over there. And developers are keeping it very quiet as well. I can't necessarily market that I'm doing a 4-month OP. I mean, it's done now, so I can go ahead and say it. But like, you know, so they would come in, I'd be like, yeah, so we're this just in, new special, you know, not in so many words, but you know, and that's kind of where things were going right now. So I'm seeing that uptick, which is nice. Yeah.
And the recent rentals that my team has handled, we have seen people relocate from Chicago. We have seen people relocate from Miami. We always hear about New Yorkers going to Miami. We've seen people from Miami coming to LIC. So that's also been really really nice to see.
Actually, let me back off that for a second, actually, because it reminds me of another question in the sense that obviously people from LIC, because it's a relatively new expanded neighborhood, where do you see most of the people coming from? Obviously, there's people you said coming from Miami. Are you just seeing people coming from Manhattan? Are you seeing people coming from other parts of Queens, for example? I think Rick, you mentioned Flushing.
Yeah, Flushing for sure.
Coming from that are joining LIC.
A lot of people from California. It's interesting that they end up here because it's a good fit. So California, a lot of people from the city. A lot of people came from the city. I think the rentals have been going in waves. Yeah, like a few months ago, last year it was crazy. It was like dead, and then it picked up again. And I feel like there's a little lull right now. But you know, I work mostly with investors with condos, and yes, we're competing with all these concessions the rental builders are giving, which is 3-4 months, and you know, we're still moving them with 1 month because there is that condo renter also. So
yeah, that's a whole different market because the condos are bigger, they're nicer, and you know, people that rent them are a bit older, more mature in their career, we'll say. You know, so they're willing to go ahead and spend the extra money. So that's a very good point too, actually. Yeah.
It's been interesting for sure. As I think you said, I think you said the sales were doing better than the rentals at one point.
At that time, yeah, it was crazy. I'm like, what's wrong with me? I'm like, you know, like my batting average is terrible. I'm like, what's going on?
If I may just jump in real quick to piggyback on Rick's point to answer the last question. We have seen a lot of movement over the last years. Everyone has out to the Hamptons, to Miami, to California, upstate. Everyone's fleeing, right? Everyone's coming back. Everyone's coming back much faster than everyone anticipated 6 months ago.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a very quick rebound for New York because New Yorkers are tough, right? And when you go out to the suburbs, you love the yard and you love the fresh air, and then 6 months later, you miss the vibrancy of the city, right? You miss Casa Enrique, you miss your local spots and the diversity of cuisine and all of the buzz that makes New York what New York is, right? And
we called it LIC Tough for a reason.
Exactly, right?
A lot of the renters left, not a lot of the homeowners. That was a difference. And they're paying all this money, so they moved in with their parents, and now everybody's sick of living together, so they're coming back. And so it was interesting. A few people were panicking. It was like, just be calm, this will pass. So, but on the whole, I don't think a lot of families moved. There was a few, not a lot.
That's true.
And
New York is strong.
People coming back too. I think the other effect of COVID that's been sort of the prevailing sentiment for us in the market is that the radius of where people are looking has expanded. Going again back to Rick's point about renters, if someone's offering a better deal across the street, people are moving. And, the month's free incentivizes them to deal with the headache and the logistics of actually moving all of their possessions across the street. It's the same thing in a certain way with the condo market, right? We've seen just a much greater willingness to be mobile. Right. So that radius where people used to just want to be only in Long Island City or only in downtown Brooklyn or only in Harlem or Jersey City, that has expanded. And so it's been this radius around Manhattan and even including Manhattan. We have a lot of, on Saturday, 8 of my 10 appointments were from Midtown wanting to come to Long Island City. So the radius has expanded. And I think it's all about who's offering a better palette of amenities, higher level of finishes, better intangibles with the unit at a better price. So what is the overall package? And I'm willing to move to downtown Brooklyn, or I'm willing to move to Harlem. It's all about what my home is, since we're spending so much more time in our home than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the new protocols and since COVID that when you're showing in buildings that building management requires?
I mean, at the Greystone, we have to do the COVID forms, and they got to fill out all this paperwork. I mean, just the basic stuff that we all do as brokers, nothing extra.
By appointment?
Yeah. I mean, I'm very flexible, to tell you the truth. I mean, as long as they send in the COVID paperwork and the disclosure, step right up. That's it. But keep the mask on, obviously, and everyone's very respectful. I've never had a situation, thank God, knock on wood. I'm more the one that stands back. I don't want to get in anyone's way, and if there is the opportunity to open a window, I'll open it. I mean, more for them, not for me, so much. You know what I mean? So, but I don't want them to feel uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form. So I just respect them. That's all. But.
Right. So going back to sales for a moment, are you encountering bidding wars? Any of you? Any bidding wars going on?
We had a situation recently where there was, multiple bids on it. So I'm not seeing that across the marketplace in all cases. And it also depends on the price. Units that are priced closer to market will, will get more demand. Units that are still overpriced will not get as much demand. So we're seeing signs of it, but not market wide yet, but we are seeing some signs of it.
Everyone agree with that?
Yeah, they're more like bid fights, not wars. A little bits here and there, but nothing I wish, but not yet.
Skirmishes.
So I think it's to Patrick's point, it's more of an outlier than I think the trend. But we had one unit come back to us at a project right in the crosshairs of Astoria and Long Island City, a building called the Neighborly. We had one unit come back to us before closing. We had 6 offers in one weekend. It sold 50,000 above the asking, but that's definitely an anomaly. But we have not seen that anywhere in at least 2 years for us. Something going 50,000 above asking, no concessions, no contingency, and it's just a deal from 2015. I haven't felt that in years.
And just to add one other comment on that, what we have been seeing in the past, I would say 30 days, buyers and their brokers who had previously visited the project, we are hearing from their agents following up with us. Hey, is that unit still available? Hey, we're seeing that a lot more. And we're like, no, the contract's out for signature. We have a cash offer, the person signing tomorrow. So things like that, not quite full out bidding wars, but you're starting to see a higher interest level.
Yeah.
Have you encountered any appraisal issues? Any appraisal issues?
No.
None at all. None of you.
No.
All right, so I've got a good question. In terms of, this is something I've been curious about because, again, I live in Queens. I'm pretty familiar with LIC, and I know there's a lot of new developments and things. With all of the things that come with new developments, things like zoning issues and setbacks, and what you can do with community spaces and things like that, plus all the concessions or even some of the tax benefits. Do you guys have to be like accountants and zoning experts to sell an LIC, or how close do you have to get to that kind of information to sell units?
I always disclose I'm not an accountant. I give a brief synopsis of just to let people be aware, but I always suggest they do their own research. So, I think particularly with zoning about views, things like that comes up a lot. So.
And I guess Michael's an attorney, so he has that. He could provide that service when he needs to.
He can legally do it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's it right there. I think that if there's an opportunity where we can add a value proposition for buyers with no misrepresentation, right? Because everything builds at the end of the day. It's Long Island City, right? Anywhere that has a buildable lot that has existing FAR that has the zoning to go up, it will eventually make sense for some developer to build it. But if we can provide the background for them to then go cross-verify and to get a qualified and licensed individual to consult on, I think it's always a value.
Yeah, it really helps with the sale though. I mean, because like if you're showing an apartment that's like, you know, south facing and there's like a 2-story building there, you want to know what the FAR is, so you can go ahead and tell them, and then they can fact check it like you said, or you can give them the actual map if you want to. But the more you know about it, the better you can sell, and because you can paint the picture for what's going to happen in the future or not happen.
Right.
So really quickly, just a quick question, going over to a hot topic throughout New York City, affordable units. So recently in February, 5 Points, they just opened the affordable housing lottery over at 5 Points. How has that affected each of one of your businesses?
You know, we specialize more in condominium sales and marketing and buying and selling. So I think it's just important when we talk about the rental supply, which we're asked about a lot in Long Island City, it's important to consider it in the larger context of the New York City market, because I think in the rental market, it's much different than the condo market. And you have things happening in Manhattan before the pandemic, which will probably begin, you know, to occur again. It's very difficult to build a rental building in Manhattan because of the cost of land under normal circumstances. So when Brooklyn and Long Island City were rezoned, that created new neighborhoods along the waterfront and elsewhere. So this is actually, the rental product here is not just LIC, it's part of a larger ecosystem of the rental market. So when you look at the supply, the 1,200 units that came online at 5 Points, it's actually 1,200 units in LIC, but it's part of this larger, you know, rental market. And we also have Hunters Point South, which has, I'm always very proud of it, 5,000 affordable housing units when it's fully built in the years to come. And that's on our best lots. That's right on the waterfront, right in the park. So yeah. So you know, we have more to do, I think, as a real estate community to figure out how to build more affordable housing. But Hunters Point South is, I think, a great example for the city where you put it right in the best part of the neighborhood.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I have a question. So Derek read earlier that I'm a REBNY and a One Key member. Are either of you also One Key members besides being REBNY members?
I am, and I'm a member of One Key. I'm in the process of Jersey and Florida as well. One Key is helpful. Marketing Long Island City properties to the MLS, I think, is valuable in terms of greater exposure. And then I think also a lot of realtors that are in the Sunnyside, Woodside, even Astoria markets, they exist on One Key for their buyer clients. And so I think it's helpful to market to them. I do think that will regulate itself now that LIBOR has gone to One Key, which there's a little bit more syndication crossover than there was previously. So I think that sort of distinction between the two ecosystems of brokers, I think that will start to blend together over time. But for now, it's still helpful.
And quick question, and I just want to piggyback on Brian's question. In addition to those boards, are any of you a part of any other boards or attend like community boards or anything like that? I know Patrick mentioned, and also Rick, you mentioned the community gets really involved with a lot of stuff. Are any of you guys involved with other like smaller local boards or groups or organizations?
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the years, I've been involved in pretty much all of them. Like, I mean, I've been for a long time. My favorite one was the YMCA. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was mentoring, and that was cool. That was really cool because, like, just yeah. And Ebony, who runs it, was super sweet, and I actually ran into her, so I'm gonna do that again. I'm kind of excited, but there are so many organizations over here, and at the moment, I'm not involved as much, but I've done them all, and they're very fantastic because they all give back in many different ways,
Yeah, and my story is kind of the same. I'm on the board of directors of the Hunters Point Parks Conservancy.
Okay, great.
So yeah, and the Conservancy is responsible for programming the park, events, working with New York City parks to make sure that the park is clean and just it's a beautiful park. And the Conservancy does great work. So I just I contribute as much as I can with volunteering, Bulb Fest, or any other type of support that I could give them. And then I do a lot of work with LaGuardia Community College, where we tried to, where we tried to find, employment. There's so many talented students. If anyone is listening on this webinar, please contact LaGuardia Community College. There's so many talented graphic artists, videographers, and we actually have been successful in placing them in major companies in Manhattan. So that's something I'm very proud of.
Patrick, putting in the plug. That's a good way to do it.
Thank you.
Never thought about that. It's cool.
Someone has a question.
That's a great plug. That's a great plug.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat. Derek, you want to take
Yeah.
it?
So we did have two questions in the Q&A. One of them, I think an easy one. Are you guys seeing interest from foreign buyers either relocating to LIC or possibly for investment purposes?
I think not like we used to, not at the moment.
Yeah.
Not like we used to. So, but I feel confident that will come back.
Nice.
Yeah, she's right. I mean, as of late, not so much, I mean, the foreigners have been just like, first generation here, so to speak, but before it was nothing but,
Right.
it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah. So the last question we have from the group, well, another one just popped in, but the one that I had just seen was about new developments. You mentioned the new development on Jackson Avenue. Are you seeing everything focused there, or are you seeing new developments spread out still? There's still space, there's still room and for LIC to grow, but where else are you seeing developments being planned?
We just completed a study for a client on the residential pipeline based on Department of Building job filings, where the last action date was very recent. This way we excluded any, stalled sites or sites that are on hold. And then we sorted the list by neighborhood, divided into Court Square and Hunters Point. And the vast majority of the inventory is coming into Court Square. There are a few select projects in Hunters Point that will probably do very well because there's not a lot of inventory coming online there, but it seems like still the pattern. I'd be curious to hear what everyone else says, but based on that report, it seems that Court Square is going to really get it.
Also the Dutch Kills area.
Yeah.
It's definitely.
Yes.
That entire area is
fast,
like, it's
very fast.
nonstop. There's not that much land that's available in Hunters Point. There's like, a few things here and there driven drive, but nothing big. All the big inventory is going to be over there. And that neighborhood become a neighborhood in of itself. It's like a little Manhattan. It really is. You go there at night and it's a vibe. If they only go to the waterfront, it's different, so it's cool.
That's kind of the beauty of LIC. It's a collection of places. It's not just kind of one vibe, as you said. And that actually reminds me, I saw an article in the Post recently about a development that's supposedly planned for the waterfront that's supposed to have a power plant, a green power plant. And part of that proposal I saw was like a land bridge that goes over to the, I always forget which island it is.
Greenpoint. Oh.
No, the Roosevelt Island. To connect with Cornell's, to connect with the Cornell Center, the medical center over there. That's very, very early stage, but that's the first new thing I saw on the waterfront for a while. I don't even know if that's going to happen.
That'd be cool.
That'd be really nice.
It sounds like a project that I'm not familiar with it, but it sounds like a project that will require some government approvals.
Lots.
So I think,
lots.
Yeah. So I think if we've learned anything from Amazon, it's that anytime a private organization approaches the city and the community, it needs to be a true public-private partnership this time. So I think that for me was the major takeaway from the Amazon experience was everything has to be above board, public-private partnership. And so I would just suggest that.
What about retail? We read that the BJ's is now open, and someone in the chat asked about Trader Joe's. Is Trader Joe's coming, and what other retail or chain retail is coming there?
Well, Michael should take Trader Joe's because that's his project.
Okay.
Yes, Trader Joe's is on its way. It should open, I think we're targeting June, might push to July, but it'll be at 2243 Jackson Avenue. And it's super exciting. It's a big space. It's a big square footage, and the design for the layout and everything is going to be really great. So I think a big grocer is something the neighborhood's been craving. So I think it'll be a great addition to LIC.
Yeah.
Michael, is that a standalone building or is that a part of a bigger building?
It's the commercial space on the ground floor level of the prime LIC, 2243 Jackson Ave. But it's the anchor tenant. It's the only there's one commercial unit in the building. It's being retained by the sponsor.
Great anchor tenant to have.
What other retail is there? What other retail is in the area? major retail?
Oh, you have so many shops along Vernon Boulevard, which is kind of like our Bedford.
Yeah.
And farther up on Jackson Avenue, you have Tishman Spire opened up a beautiful office complex. I think it's after Citibank, probably our first ground up office project. And there's lots of life sciences happening around there. Penny Bridge is a restaurant that recently opened. Right Fitness Club opened on 42nd Road. It's a beautiful boutique fitness studio. So there's lots of things happening both in Court Square and near the waterfront.
How does small business fare? They're like small mom and pop shops in Long Island City.
There's a lot of them, and like especially on Vernon Boulevard. I mean, to Patrick's point is that like everything that he just commented on is all in one submarket, which is like in the Court Square area, et cetera. But if you look at the retail on Vernon Boulevard, it's a bit different. It's all like, whether it's restaurant or real estate or like, a little pizzeria, but you're not seeing much of like, clothing stores or kind of boutiques, et cetera, that because, now we're in that period of a true adjustment, and like the rents are quite high and foot traffic was a bit low. And now it's like there's opportunity. Black Star took over Dorian's Coffee, which is really cool. So you're seeing things that are kind of beginning to evolve. Anybody that has ideas right now, I feel can, and like a good idea in this market could do very well. Because I mean, like the Dorian space is a fantastic location. And now it's that coffee shop, they're going to do phenomenal. I can already see it. So it's like, and that's what's cool. So hopefully we get some people that have like, the creativity and the forward thinking to want to take a chance and like get a space now because the ability is there, but we're not quite there yet. But the people don't really mind because they understand. They know everywhere is like that for the most part. So it's not like an abnormal thing. But hopefully with time it'll evolve from that.
So really quickly, and I know we're about to end soon. And I just wanted to ask this one question for all the panelists, really quick and short. I know I've been to a great restaurant there in LIC. I think it's called Blend on the Water. I was taken there for my birthday. So if each of you could name one of your favorite places that you like to frequent, whether it be in a restaurant, a bar, bike shop, whatever. So what's your one favorite place that you frequent a lot in your local community?
Costa Enrique. It is.
Well, I don't cook, so I support the whole neighborhood. It goes from Little Chef, Little Cafe to Bear Burger to Slice Pizza to American. My indulgement is American Brass now on the water. Manetta's. There's so many that I just rotate. So
I'll be calling you. When I'm looking.
Yeah, I would just add Manducati's original Manducati's Rustica. Pantry on Jackson Avenue is really good. So yeah, there's a few, and my old place where I used to take my son for he used to love it. He would say it was like SpongeBob. Is the Crab House, which is no longer there.
Oh man, the Crab House, that was awesome.
Yeah. so
it's daycare now.
It's a shame.
Yeah, that was so cool.
It was so cool.
Michael, what about you?
Peanuts.
My favorite restaurant in the city is Urubamba out in Jackson Heights. But for this area, Dutch Kills, love Astoria Seafood, love Cafe Arepas.
Nobody said sweet.
Awesome.
Come on, Nas. As a rap fan, the fact that Nas, who's from the projects,
Yeah.
as Sweet Chick, owns a restaurant right there in LIC down the street from the projects he grew up in. I just love that story. So I'm going to throw that in there, Ty. I love it.
That place is
I
great.
love fried chicken. You eat it all the time.
Sweet there, you can't move. There's no way to have lunch. It's a wrap.
We were very excited when the restaurant came.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Michael, have you been to Telly's in Astoria?
I have. It's great.
Very good place for fish.
Yep. Taverna
Thanks,
Clugadas.
Anthony. You got to stick about it. Thank you, Anthony, for bringing up the Greek
going
restaurant there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite restaurant in Astoria, Telly's. And they always give you a Luca Matti's right afterwards. You eat so healthy. You have a lot of greens, good fish, great salad. And then they bring out the Luca Matti's. These are like the fried dough. Oh my God, with the honey. It just kills it all. But guys, man, I wish you guys could go on for a couple more hours, but we have to conclude. And I want to really thank you all, Derek, Tywan, of course, Brian, Patrick, great hearing from you. I'm like, just listening to you, Michael, Mary Beth, I hope you feel better. And Rick, it's great hearing you guys. You guys are really knowledgeable. I mean, Long Island City is really happening. Michael, where are you? What building are you in?
This right now is Skyline Tower.
Skyline, very pretty, very beautiful. I used to live right there in Astoria by the park. Used to have a mortgage company a long time ago. And lately I go down to the Long Island City. I can't even recognize it, but it's happening. It really is happening. So once again, guys, I want to thank you all. We have to conclude. Tomorrow we will be back around 10:30, and it's going to be something on Google owns YouTube, how to build on both. Lucy Edwards from VHT and Alex Montalenti from Real Grader. So looking forward to that. Do you know him, guys?
Of course.
Okay, great. So that's tomorrow, and join in tomorrow. It should be interesting. Guys, we conclude right now, and I want to thank you again. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.